headquarters of common sense.
Talk Radio.
I don't want to. I haven't actually been one of those people that wants to rant, but you're the expert. I'm going to give you what I saw today because this is what started this. We're sat at some traffic lights in the car. From the left, this thing comes at probably 30 miles an hour. The guy's got music on, no helmet, slippers probably, cuts straight in front of us through a red light, narrowly misses a bus and goes up on the pavement. And I have no idea, genuinely, John, how that's allowed.
No, and I think the vast majority, certainly of motorists on the road, would completely agree with you. We, as motorists, we have to comply with rules of the road. We have to take tests to drive our cars and ride our motorcycles. We have to insure our cars and our motorcycles. And we have to take great care. We have a responsibility, a duty of care to other road users and pedestrians at all times when in and around our cars. You know, we have to get them MOT'd. We have to make sure they're safe to use on the road. There are so many hoops that we have to jump through. People on e-scooters don't, and that's where I struggle with them.
Actually, not only do I struggle, but I mean, somebody was saying to me earlier, well, I mean, I've got one and it's not like we're the only ones. What about people with electric bikes? The fact is, you make a really salient point about how we have to jump through many hoops as car owners and drivers. But the safety issue, I mean, people are dying because of that tragic story yesterday. Again, we always point to government, don't we, John? But surely something should be done about this. So what's this rule about private land as against rentals? What's the truth about that story?
It's a really complicated one, and this sort of goes all the way back to, you may remember, in the mid to late 90s, we started seeing motorised scooters, go-peds, we used to call them, with small little petrol engines on the back. And that rule kind of came in there, and it was to say, if you have private land, if you're fortunate enough to have a big field or a road network that's closed to the public, then there you can use your motorised scooter. And that ruling still pretty much stands the same. It believe it or not, it's not just electric scooters that's valid to. It's also to what a lot of us might call shop mobility. We see our elderly relatives and neighbours driving around on the road in shop mobility scooters. The same rules actually apply for those, and I'm sure we can all say we've grumbled at an older fellow road user, perhaps on the road when they shouldn't be, or as far as we're concerned, shouldn't be. It's a really difficult one to enforce. And then, of course, along comes trial schemes with electric scooters and e-scooters, where, in the case of London, some boroughs are trialling it, whereas others aren't. And, of course, there's a lot of confusion from the consumer as to, well, I can go into a high street shop and buy one of these things. Why can't I ride my scooter on the road when the local council's also doing a trial scheme where you can? So it's really, really confusing.
There needs to be a blanket approach, doesn't there? There has to be a blanket approach. But the thing is, to me, and I'm going to say the wrong thing, but there you go. You do 33 or 34 and a 30 and you get 3 points, and you're passed by a bloke or a woman on an e-scooter that goes straight in front of you, narrowly misses a bus, goes back on the pavement, and you're left thinking, I don't understand what the hell's going on here. In terms of safety laws, you say difficult to police because there isn't one straight rule, is there? I mean, they should be banned, should they not? They should be banned without helmets and without license. Maybe they should be licensed or not licensed. I don't know.
I think the only real solution, and it's such a difficult one again to answer, how do we solve it? There needs to be some sort of accountability, some sort of license to it, some sort of registration. I know there's a huge argument from people that support the use of e-scooters that say, well, what about push bikes? Well, in my opinion, the difference is anything that's propelled by us as human beings is very different to anything that's propelled
but I suppose the electric bike has made a difference, hasn't it? He says, looking for a piece of paper that he's lost.
Yes, I would agree with that. And again, I think that's something that might need to also be considered as part of the legislation. If we're being propelled by anything more than our own energy, then yes, perhaps there do need to be factors into it. I mean, you're absolutely right. The tragic circumstances of a young teenager losing her life, it is absolutely horrific. And of course, I share the sentiment of everyone in giving condolences to the family. But again, we have to ask why this has happened and how this has happened. And the first answer that I can come to is, well, because perhaps that 14-year-old, that individual, simply wasn't used to electrified power. And it's not just, we can take away the fact that she was 14 years old. This could be anybody.
Well, Cal, didn't Cal go on his electric bike and broke his back and was nearly not able to walk again? Simon Cowell. So there seem to be these advances to make things quicker, but perhaps not the rules to govern who, rides them and how and where they can ride them. And that's the most worrying thing. John, a real pleasure. Thank you, my friend. I really appreciate you coming on.